Welcome to Birds of a Feather. This is your girl, AJ, the Suburban Princess here. Another podcast, another video, but this time I want to stress more getting to know you type. So this 5-question series I'm doing for Birds of a Feather is going to illuminate a lot of, random thoughts in my head that I've always wanted to ask people who I talk to on Twitter and even in person. And this gentleman right now is someone who has been, from afar, someone who inspires me because obviously we're both Eagle fans, and he definitely is someone who to me is like a silent threat in the industry because I feel like his podcast, Fourth and Jawn, everything that's elevated him since I've gotten to know him through Twitter and other experiences, he's inspired me to want to do a podcast as well because I mean, hey, when no one wants to listen to you or you're a female and nobody gives you any props, you got this kind of a foray to do it, and I'm very happy to introduce Gail Saunders joining my podcast today. Thank you, buddy. How are you?
Good. I'm just happy to be on your podcast. I'm on the other side of things, and
Yes.
appreciate your words and AJ's voice. If you guys haven't heard her speak, she has a very distinct voice, and I always say the voice of an angel, and she always is able to articulate her thoughts clearly. You'll hear her on different airwaves, on TV, on the Mike Missinelli show, on the radio, and I can always, when I'm just like not even looking at the radio, I'm like, that's AJ. But yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk.
Yes.
Talk.
Yes, because I feel like, with quarantine, just like I was saying on a previous episode I had with a friend of mine, quarantine has driven us a little batty. And some of us who have been following it since March, off and on, if you're not working from home or you had to go out to work, it's been a way to kind of, pick everybody's brain. And the virtual ones I've seen thus far with different celebrities or different personalities, local personalities, I've learned a lot more. And I feel like if I do it on my own, I kind of can get to know the people that I only really mostly talk through this type of forum or Twitter or IG or Facebook. So, Gail, thank you for doing this and taking the time. And I just want to shoot off random questions. So
I'm here.
just be ready. Take as long as you want to explain.
So, randomness. I'm all about being random, and this is totally me.
So you feel me. So all right. So the first question I have for you, and this is probably going to be one of the questions I'll probably ask everybody because I have them in my life. But what is your biggest regret thus far? In this far in your life, in your career, and where you're planning on going? Do you have any? And if so, why or why not?
I'd say, there. I've always talked about, doing multiple things, and in my career, I've always tried different things. And one thing I've done comedy stuff for years, but I chose the sports angle over the last couple of years. I did produce content, comedy stuff. It's not really a regret, but it's something that I want to get back into. Whether it's doing sketches, but I feel like there's parts of when people like regret things, when you regret something, it turns into like negative energy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can regret things, but life is short, so you can decide tomorrow that you want to do something and do it tomorrow and start tomorrow. It doesn't matter what age you are. You have to start somewhere. And I feel like, but if it's one thing, it's, just taking a leap of faith earlier on when I was younger, probably in my mid 20s. There's times where I just think at certain parts of your life, you're not ready for certain things.
Right.
Mentally. Me now, at my age, my 40s, I'm a beast. Like I can think of something and do it because I'm more focused, I'm more mature, and I know what I want. So.
Gotcha. And I think that's the only main one I have. I mean, when I was a student at UArts briefly, it's like I look back now at I really should have just stayed there the last 3 years because I really just underestimated my talent, and I don't think I was quite as focused as I thought. Like you said, mentally, it was definitely a mental thing that probably psyched myself out to think maybe I don't belong here. Maybe this isn't for me. And yeah, I regret it? Yes. Could I go back? Yes, but I'm not. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. So one of the topics I know that I see a lot, and something that I've experienced with my parents divorcing, it just seems like and I don't want to say millennials because I wouldn't know what that life was like, but marriage seems like it's become this rare institution where, as opposed, it used to be something beautiful. What is your opinion of the state of marriage now, and has it changed in your eyes, or do you feel like it's pretty much the same institution? It just depends on the effort and the person.
Well, I think, like looking at, you know, my parents who were older, my parents were married for 33 years before my mom had passed, but just seeing their relationship, their willingness to be a team, it was a whole team effort. I thought, them raising kids was something very important to them, and they were there for everything for us. I honestly believe that, they were like the best parents for me and my brothers, and they just gave it their all. I think I still believe in the idea of marriage. I think I'm not married yet, but I would like to be married soon. Uh, you know, but it's I believe I think in this day and age, people give up a little bit easier. You
Mm-hmm.
know, back in the day, you know, uh, people
Yeah.
might think they have more options, but I think even even relationships, I think doesn't you don't have to be married to be committed. So I feel like commitment is just a thing. Like, it's also being a team player and being a part of a relationship is, um, being there for the one that you love, and just being the rock. And I think those are all things that, whether you're married or not, it's like never giving up hope. Like that's what about. I think a relationship. That's what it's really about. Is like not giving up and giving people your best effort and all the time, and loving them unconditionally. Because at the end of the day, like, life is not perfect. We're all going to be, they say I mean, you can get sick, you can get, but having a rock is like no other. Having someone who really loves you is a blessing,
Hmm.
especially during these times. You see,
Yeah.
the real love, whether it's from friends and family
Right.
or a loved one. You really, what love is.
And the thing is, I think when a quarantine, it's funny how you're hearing the stories of more people divorcing,
Mhm.
as you realize that maybe the love wasn't all there as you thought. Um, I know for me, I've had to recently move back home with my mother, so it's like, as much as I love my mom, we've outgrown each other very much so. um, but she knows that if she wasn't here, I wouldn't be able to get out of my apartment issue quicker and get home and just restart, relaunch myself for next year. So now that I've been here, I think I realize as a single woman, it's not that I don't value marriage, because I didn't expect my parents to be divorced. They got divorced after, what, 34 years of marriage. And my dad's
Wow.
in Tampa now. And I think that you just realize that some people just grow apart. And sometimes it's not anyone's fault. It's just some people they just go this way. And I think for me personally, I've never thought about being married, just because dealing with myself has been enough. Like, I feel like I'm my own child and woman child. So my relationship with myself has become more important. And I've had to really learn to like myself, within the last, like, I'd say 10 or so years. So relationships definitely require you being whole. And like you said, it's got to be a team effort. So I haven't even tried to even think about dating, because it's just been so much with this kind of, I feel like I'm going through another regeneration, or I don't know what the word is, but like, you're kind of going into this kind of new form. And I don't know where it's going yet, but I know next year, I feel like, as like you said, in your 40s, you're just getting more comfortable with yourself. And so now that I'm starting to know myself a little better, it's just, I wouldn't want to put myself out there dating yet, because I don't feel comfortable totally with dragging somebody else in my space yet. Like,
I
I'm
mean,
just,
I think it's important to, like, self love is very important, and also, just knowing what you want helps.
yeah.
Um, find the right person, but like being in the right state of mind is definitely a thing. Like, learning what your wants are, learning what your, you know, you know, I mean, we're not all perfect.
No.
So, I mean, knowing your own imperfections and realizing that everything can't be perfect when you meet someone. Like we all are going through struggles, and we've all had things that have happened in our past, but you can't carry on the baggage of like, your past relationships, your past. These are what makes you you at this moment in time. So I feel like loving yourself and loving your imperfections is something that you have to embrace.
Gotcha. All right. So going into that, what do you feel, especially during quarantine? What has been your way of dealing with the frustration of, I don't know, this pandemic, just everything with the election and everything, and all the results and all the tension? What has been your thing? And we kind of talked about it before, but I'd rather you say it now. But what has your way of dealing with this whole trial of 2020 that it's become? What are your tools or skills or things that you like to do to get the stress out or the anxiousness out?
I think 2020 has been a year that, like, it's been like no other. Whether the racial unrest in the country, whether it was like Kobe Bryant passing
Oh
away,
God.
because there's just like, Kobe is like a superhero. And
Yeah.
when a superhero passes away, you start to look at your own life, and you're just like, wow, man, like he's the same age as I am,
Mhm.
a guy I grew up, rooting for
Yeah.
and rooting against at times. But the pandemic, it makes you start to look at life in a different light when you're, seeing people pass away that from COVID. People in my office had COVID, and at one point during this pandemic, I thought it was effective
Oh.
because I dealt with symptoms, and so I kept myself away from family and loved ones for 3 months. So I was literally by myself for 3 months in an apartment,
Yeah.
and for the first time in my entire life that I was ever by myself for that long.
Right.
So there was these moments where you just like, oh man, it's like I can't even be around family.
Right.
I can't even like see my cousin would drop by, like leave food on the in front of my house. But it was definitely a rough time. But
Yeah.
I just think you have to. I've always been a person who's always focused on the positives, and trying to like get through hard times by not complaining about it, but just, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Whatever it takes for me to move forward, I'm going to do my best. I think, whether it was being creative, uh, I started painting more shoes. That's been a thing that's got me through, because this pandemic has not stopped people's love for sneakers. They
Especially when
still
you're good at doing the designs you do, Gail.
they still want their Air Force Ones painted.
All
They
right.
still want their Jordans painted.
Nice.
I guess checking in with family members and friends, and I think I always mention this on our Fourth and John podcast and live streams. Mental health is very important, so I
Yeah.
feel like at this time, like a lot of people, I have never seen this many people or friends of mine who are more candid about their mental health issues,
Yeah.
that they're easily able to talk about it now. Like before, they were like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't have these.
Right.
Like we're all not superheroes, dude.
Right.
We're all going through things. So I think the ability for me to reach out to people and like, yo, how you doing? Are you good? And like, and just hearing people's voices, talking to your friends,
Mhm.
um, and then just having the same kind of issues that you've had. Kind of like, it's like, we're all here in it to try to win it, but it's, everyone's had struggles. But
Right.
it's interesting to hear people's struggles during the pandemic.
Did you find yourself doing something different? Like, because everybody, there was a trend of people talking about they baked banana bread. Did you do anything weird?
Oh yeah, I was cooking. I was cooking my ass off. I was like, I had like, I was doing like IG like cooking stories, and
Oh,
people were reaching out to me about recipes. They're like, yo, I saw you making that chicken adobo, man. What you using spices up in there? Like, what was like I was doing like,
I feel like I saw more people putting videos to cook it, and I did, yeah, peep that a
I
lot.
mean,
Sure.
I think that's the part of like, you know, people get put in rough situations, and like it's it's real. Like I have this quote I had on my refrigerator, like life is 95% of what happens, and the other 5% is how you deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's like I've been, it's about dealing with things and like trying to overcome things. But
Yeah.
it's definitely there's no map for 2020. We're all we're all out here trying to walk the maze, but stay on the right path.
Copy and paste. Copy and paste. Um, and also too, well, sports wise, I'll just turn it just because you know we could talk sports all day, but has it made you look at how sports kind of had to trudge through with the NBA bubble, with the MLB, with now with football now slowly being affected with delayed games? Has it made you almost look at sports like, well, why did they even bother? Because I feel like now is not the time to keep going if players are getting sick. Like for me, I felt selfish that I wanted it back so bad because I wanted something else to look at. But then another part of me was like, our team specifically hasn't been doing the greatest. So you kind of almost feel like, well, did we really need them to come back now? Did you have moments where you kind of question, whether sports was necessary or?
I think between the pandemic, um, and then also the social issues with George Floyd, like to me, like sports was like secondary,
Yeah.
and got to a point where it's like like I was almost ashamed to realize how much time I spent. I mean, I'm just being me because I love the Eagles so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
But I was almost like, man, you really spend this much time on the Eagles, like,
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I did too.
and it's like this is kind of like your life. But again, like I'm always about whatever you're passionate about, and you just be about it, and that's what I try to do. But I'm also passionate about social issues, so
Right.
I was definitely going through some things when you're sitting in your house and you're crying, and you're like, I can't believe we're going through this, and I can't believe that we're still dealing with this. And I know
Yeah.
we don't even have to have a conversation. You can see it in each other's eyes when these situations, and you can see in some people's posts on
Yeah.
social media, and some people the whole idea of that you have to be on social media to
Yeah.
put
Express.
your but everyone's going through stuff, so it's kind of like I think whether it was coronavirus or social issues, I thought this is all secondary, but and then we get our football back, and
Mhm.
the football is like, y'all are making me more depressed. Uh, like
Watch our
y'all can stop. You can stop the league if you want. Man,
3,
uh,
4, and 1. What the hell did we wait for?
the Sixers imploded, and
Sixers loaded.
but I again, you start to realize what's important. Whether it's love, whether it's touch, whether it's a helping hand
Mhm.
from friends and family, or just a phone call.
Right.
Like the important things in life, like people's health. Those are the things that ring true now to me. I'm just like, man, like, even just being out amongst your friends without a mask on, like,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna take us some time to get back to normalcy, even
Yep.
after
Yep.
we get through this pandemic.
Hmm.
So I think it's 2020 has been one for the history books.
It's kicking our ass without even trying. And the funny thing about it is, I was never like really well. No, I'm not gonna lie. I do love New Year's Eve, but I feel like I tell everybody this now. New Year's Eve this year is gonna rock because I'm gonna be so ready to kiss this year goodbye. And I know it's not gonna probably change any better in 2021, but it's just the fact that now I feel like you said, we've been through this. We can get through any year because now people had to deal with their shit because they were stuck in the same space for a little bit. And even if people who did have to push through and work through it, now they have to wear masks. Now they have to wash incessantly. Like there's things that made everybody uncomfortable this year that was for the greater good. And people are still fighting it. People are still denying it. But I mean, to me, after this year, there's no way you shouldn't just take each day as it comes because you just don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
And
If you're not a spiritual person, then I don't know how, but it's crazy.
yeah, I think the thing I think people need to realize the anxiety is real. Like not in everyone deals with anxiety in different shapes and forms, but I feel like whatever it is that you use to cope, whether it's like like some people use prayer, and
Mhm.
like I was telling my girl the other day, I was like, look, sometimes you just got to give it up to God. Like
Yep.
you're anxious about going to like this event, and you're trying to keep your mom safe, and and but you just have to give it up to God. Like if he's gonna hopefully take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put it in your hands and having faith and being.
Yeah.
Not everyone can do that,
No.
but I feel like whatever it is, whether it's meditation or just speaking to a therapist
Right.
about your issues, it's a thing.
All of the above. Drink wine.
Drink wine, smoke butt, like whatever it is,
Yeah.
you do things.
Shoot.
I think you do have to check in and realize that we're all going to deal with anxiety during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm. I think that and my next question too is everyone's had kind of a new hobby they've developed, like I said earlier, but specifically, I know I've watched more Netflix than I ever have in my life. Is there something you're like or even going back to watch that you haven't finished ever because you never had the time on Netflix that you kind of, or even Hulu, whatever? Is there anything that you've really gravitated towards now that you're?
But I've watched a lot of. I watched The Walking Dead. Went back and watched.
Oh, okay.
I got caught up on that one. I've watched. I got to the point where I was like watching, like I was like obsessed with anything like sneaker videos, like on customizing
Okay.
on YouTube. There was a point in time when that 3-month streak where I was by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I watched every single video on sneaker customizing there could ever be on
Wow.
YouTube. I went through every single video where I was like, I got on to the 3rd month. I was like, I've seen all those. I've seen everything.
Gail's like, give me new stuff. I don't know.
I was like, bruh. I was like, I need to, it's like, I was just like, I need something else to watch. And and then I got really tired of like watching TV. So
Yeah.
I dipped back into The Wire. I rewatched The Wire.
Do you follow the podcast that Van and Jamel do, where they recap episodes of The Wire on podcast?
No, I gotta check that out.
That's funny. Well, I don't watch it, but I like Van because I follow his new podcast with Rachel Lindsay, and I love listening to them every day. So,
Okay, cool.
But yeah, peep that.
Wire is a good show. Some people don't like it. I guess. I mean, a lot of people do, but
yeah.
be more people don't hate the references.
I think people like who jumped into it late probably might be the harshest critics because I think everybody who liked it when it was on it's like a cult following. It's like Godfather. It's not Godfather, Sopranos. I never really got into those series really hardcore. I'm more of a romantic comedy. I kind of like more of the funny stuff. But not every funny thing is funny because sometimes it's the same humor. But like I like Blackish and I like Mixedish and I like I'm watching obviously more sports than I ever have. Just because sometimes now I'm starting to like the personalities on NFL Network or some ESPN. So most likely I've been more of a podcast person during this whole time because first of all, I didn't realize how many people made podcasts. And then second of all, I didn't know there were so many different topics. Like now I have a meditation one I use every now and then to get my head straight. And then just the ones that are just can be about sex. They can be about relationships. They can be about anything. And Jamel Hill is one of my favorites because she does have very good guests on to discuss things. She's been like my hero during the pandemic because she just has great thought-provoking pieces, whether she's writing it or putting in a podcast. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I've coped, and I'm trying to read more books. Like I'm trying to read Stacey Abrams' books to get inspired. But reading for me, I don't know why. I get to a point where I'm in it for like a day or two, and then I put it down, and then it's like a month later. I gotta finish this book. I haven't finished it yet. So I'm trying to find a balance because sometimes I do kill myself being on the phone, too much with social media or whatever. But yeah, it's really cool. It's cool to find something else to get lost in. But Netflix, I've been finding more cooking shows that I like. I found Cooked with Cannabis with Khalees that I like, and that was interesting because I didn't even know you could do that much with cannabis or hemp or anything. So I'm learning that, and yeah, more cooking shows because some of these cooking chef special shows on Netflix are shot so nicely, and yeah, it's really like pretty. Like I started liking the street food series. There's I think the one in Asia. I've been fascinated with street food. They go to different countries. Then this one silly one called Somebody Feed Phil, which is following this guy who was a writer for Everybody Loves Raymond. He goes to all these different countries, and he went to Rio for the newest season. There's only 4 episodes, but he went to Rio for one country. I was dying. He's so like naturally giddy. So him experiencing food in all these different countries was great. My favorite one was when he went to England on the third series. It was so third season. But yeah, stuff like that takes me away. And I've been plotting on tiny houses because of HGTV.
I watched. I still watch the Tiny Houses
Oh,
episode,
I
and
love it.
then after the pandemic, I'm like, imagine being a pandemic stuck in this small ass house.
Yeah, yeah,
That's it for like that whole idea of me living carefree living in a small ass house. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about in this pandemic.
yeah. I think that would only be great if you live by the beach in a tiny house. Like I think it's setting that
Like, you
matters.
can't even socially distance. Say if your significant other is sick, like
Yeah, that's true.
everyone's getting it.
I'm always, I know, I'm
Your
always
dog is
assuming
getting
when
it.
I'm in a tiny house, I'm by myself. So I'm never really thinking about other people. But if I had to be with someone, yeah, that would be an issue. Um, Also, too, what has 2020 taught you, or maybe taken away from you, or I guess in terms of self improvement, what do you feel like 2020 has given you as an individual?
I think 2020 has really taught me a lot about patience, um, and the ability to like, you know, when all things aren't looking well and working, um, just digging deep and realizing that things will get better, but you have to be patient. Like things, um, especially in this situation where we're like, at times we had to be inside. It's just like I can't. For me, I deal with anxiety and like I can't be in closed situations like
Yeah.
closed spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I can't like when someone says you can't do something, you can't go outside. To me, that's like I get super anxious.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it was like really just honing in and digging deep and like like you could do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's times where I'm like I'm gonna have a heart attack because I can't even breathe right now. Like I'm sitting here like my chest.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this Rona? Is this
Right.
is this anxiety? Uh,
Mm-hmm. Panic attack. Right.
but yeah, I mean, just going through it and then like like thinking that like oh I'm not gonna see my family ever. Like
Yeah.
this, like I'm thinking, is this how I'm going out? Like
You're right. No, you're right.
like is this how it works? Like I'm sitting there like I couldn't breathe. I'm walking a block. I'm like what is wrong with me? And like
Yeah.
and just like but seeing my family, loved ones, like that was like you know, and I remember it was like right before I saw my family, I ended up bumping into my boy Prime. Not bumping in. We hit the beach, did this like socially distant. That was
Yeah.
like the first time I saw people.
Right.
And E, shout out to E.
Mm-hmm.
And I put my feet in the water, and I was like, I'm like wow,
Yeah.
like my like like I don't know. It was my senses like it was like some weird like
Came back.
I was like I all of a sudden you hear some harp strings and angels flying.
Angels.
I just put my feet in the water and it really just sent shock waves through my like I'm like my senses and like
Yeah.
wow. I was like I've been so locked up for
Yeah.
the last 3 months, not seeing anyone, and then my seeing my brother, my dad, and my girl like separately because I gotta
Yeah.
those are only people I'm seeing
Right. Yeah.
every other week. I'm taking care of my dad and he's had a stroke
Oh,
and he's 87 and my
wow.
brother's pretty much there every day. So I come down on the weekends or spend every a week down there. So uh just taking care of my dad, man. That's been like it's
Yeah.
been like like I talked about earlier how much a role model he was for me and what he did for me. Like I've learned this whole sense of like family. Like
Yeah.
this is it's like it's now it's my turn to take care of him,
Yeah.
give him the best care I can. Even just like during this pandemic, watching him like you know go deal with his lack of movement and his stroke is taking something from him,
Mm-hmm.
but his willingness to want to go out and vote. He's like I'm not dealing with this like, I don't trust this guy. I'm gonna go and vote in person.
Right.
Like, you take me to the high school. What do you vote?
Push
But
me, roll me, do
But
whatever.
just to see him do, like, just
Yeah.
like, wow, man, like, just that was a cool thing that just recently happened.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah.
so
That's awesome though. But now you know what, and it's funny because with this year almost ending, thank God we got 1 month left. I've almost forgotten about Thanksgiving. I forgot about Christmas because it's like I'm not gonna be seeing anybody. I'm not gonna be going like majority of the time I've gone out maybe a couple times a month with my friends. The one who Jennifer I always talk to and always have on my page and stuff. She teaches belly dance, so we were out doing belly dance with just four of us in the park just for exercising just to get out. And honestly, I've only been like around maybe 4 or 5 people at the most. Except for that one weekend in October, and that was Jen's birthday, and we had a lot of us in a circle, not touching per se, but having like a birthday picnic type of thing, just to be out. And those experiences were great. But I remember the first night I went out to meet even just a few of us girls just to have dinner and just to get out of the house, and it was so I was panicky too. Like I was walking through the L with my mask on and just creeped out. And we were meeting at was it? It's not Jerry's. I think it was. No, Jerry's was the first time. That was like when it was hot in August, and I remember feeling really weird about even just being on the train, and I forgot about the protocols of going through suburban, like everything, like certain sides I couldn't go in, and I was like weirded out, like where. How am I supposed to, like I didn't even know where to exit. And that used to be where I go in and out every day for work. So it's like stuff like that. You forgot little things. I forgot to load my SEPTA key card when I got on it was just a whole thing I had to relearn. It was very weird, but it was like you said, like once you finally get comfortable with people, even if you're wearing masks, you're still sitting there going like, God, it feels so good to hear other conversations. You know what I mean? And just to witness other personalities and not just through Zoom or whatever that app was, a hip hop party thing. I think I found, and there were different ways to communicate with people. And
house party.
house party, yeah, I said hip hop party, whatever. Yeah, house party because that has quizzes, so I like that one because that gives you quizzes, so that's fun.
Then you realize how much technology is become like a thing.
Oh my god.
Even doing our podcast and our live streams and
Yep.
using different forms of technology to get through to people. It's
Yep.
next thing you know, you got Duo on your phone, you got House Party on, you got Zoom on, you got what's the other one? FaceTime.
FaceTime for the iPhone. Yeah, because I have mine is because I use WhatsApp to talk to my sister because her husband's in the military in Germany, and so that's the only real decent communication they have. No phone line, just WhatsApp. So
Yeah.
I talk to her kids through the phone, and you're right. I mean, Zoom has been hilarious because you see all the bits that are coming out now. Because when everybody couldn't get used to it, and the funny videos, that came out once they started bringing the talk shows back, how so many people have no idea. How now my mom's an ace. Like she does her Sunday classes on Zoom, and now she knows more than me. I'm sitting there like, the hell. So I felt very aged today, not knowing a lot of the stuff with this Zoom today. I was sitting there going like, what? What?
I mean, I try to stay up on technology, so like it's a thing. Like technology can bring us together.
Yeah.
I had my dad on a Zoom call last week. It was his first time on a Zoom call, but it did something. It did something to his spirit.
Yeah.
Connecting to one of our family members that he hasn't seen in a long time. It's different than a phone call.
Yeah.
I saw how it affected him. He was just like he was happy for the rest of the day. He was like, well, we should do another one of those.
I know. I'm hoping my dad learns. He's so paranoid. He thinks text is enough, but
what's your cousin Kiki doing? We should call her.
Let's put everybody on the call.
So, it's technology is cool for bringing everyone together.
Yeah, it is, and I'm very happy for it. But at the same time, I have to learn to pull away because there is times where I've gotten you do get burnout from
You do.
screens and my phone and TV and. But you're right. And then finally, my last question is just, what kind of music are you into now? Because I know I'm stumbling across some random stuff now, and I found myself listening to freaking my Uber driver coming from the train turned me on to some track with DMX and Sheik and the Louch, and I didn't even know that they were back. The Locks. I mean, I didn't know they were even back. Like,
The Locks are back.
yeah, it's a song called "About Shit," and I'm sitting there going, "What? And she was like, you got to check this out. And I'm sitting there going, okay. So, have you stumbled upon any new music or anything you like you're feeling?
I've been going back to old stuff, whether it's like, I'm a tribe head, like
Oh well, yeah, yeah.
native tongue, anything, De La Soul.
Isn't it 5th anniversary of passing? I think I saw today.
Oh, is it today?
I think it's the anniversary. So I saw somebody say something about 5th and the anniversary of his passing.
Yeah, I actually did a native tongues art show. I had
Shut up.
a bunch of artists who painted from all over the world who did like different pieces. I had one of the artists who did all De La Soul's, a couple of their De La Soul dead art cover.
Mm-hmm.
Even brought pieces. A couple like Leaders Anew were there, minus
Yeah.
Busta. But it was just interesting to go back and see all the old heads. And I love old school hip hop, but like Anderson .Paak, his stuff.
He's he's brilliant.
Let's see, Kate Trinata. There's a lot of
Okay, I didn't know how to pronounce his name. Okay, so I was trying to figure out what genre he would be considered. Is he considered rap? Is he considered dance? Like, how you can't really.
It's like almost like neo soul. Like,
okay.
other than that, like.
Did you get the new Busta? It's good.
It just came out.
Yeah, ELE 2.0. I just was putting it all over Twitter the other day because I was like, yo, I thought ELE was good. Like, I haven't followed Busta every single album, but ELE hit me something different. Like, that's the first one from him I've ever listened to, top to bottom. This one is even deep, and then it's got Chris Rock in between each song talking shit. Like, it's just so.
I mean, it's weird to see Busta. Like, he's been like one of my favorite rappers forever.
Yeah.
Like Leaders Anew is like one of my favorite groups.
Yeah.
So just to see his career arc, whether is he still going? Like
I'm telling you, I'm glad he did it though, because this is probably the year that he should have dropped something. Because if you think about it, because ELE was so prophetic almost in certain ways that ELE 2, I was like, what was he going to say this time?
Wasn't he supposed to do a versus for somebody?
There's a rumor back and forth, and now they're trying to hype up this new season, so I don't know what's actually official. But I thought there was supposed to be between him and somebody, and I got lost in between T.I. and Gucci. I wasn't interested in that one at all, but I was like, whatever. I'm like, y'all getting crazy. Like, I want some interesting mashes now. Like, I don't want to just be in black music. Like, I want to see some mixing, because I feel like that would be more interesting now, because you kind of saw the majority of people you want to see in a versus, in my eyes.
Yeah.
Once you bring back Monica and Brandy, like, I'm like, that to me encapsulates my youth. And I love DMX and Snoop. That was probably one of my favorites, because first of all, I didn't know how big DMX was now. I didn't know he was that thick. And he's just still the same dude who just sounds like he's just, he's still growling. He's still talking like he's, what are you gonna do? We're gonna do this. Like, he's just fun. I like watching him. And
what's the it ain't fun if the homies ain't have none. What's the name of that?
Yes.
Like that's one of it's like one of my favorite like songs, and I feel like when I'm like 70 and I'm at like a cookout and you play that song, I'm gonna be like, like I will sing the whole words and embarrass my whole
crew, right?
Generations of like, but it's like, it's funny, like those songs connect with you, like
they do, because you're in such a whatever mood this year with everything that's been hitting you. It's like DMX always seemed like he was fighting demons, so it's like now's the time to feel his whole style, because now it makes more sense. Back then it was just more about the beats, like you didn't really care when I was in my early 20s or whatever. It's like now I listen to him, and plus I always, I'm a spiritual person, so I always like when he prays, because I feel like he honestly knows how to pray. It just, because of his whole persona, you would never think that he.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got two sides to him.
He does, because there's the spiritual side fighting with his devilish side all the time, and he covers it up with a lot of cursing and loud growls, but he's a deep dude, and I'm glad he's alive considering how much crap he's put himself through.
What's the stop song? Stop.
Drop. Open up shop.
That was my joke back in the day.
Yeah, I'm
And,
hoping they do a Rough Riders reunion of some sort because I know Eve is just wrapping up doing the talk. I don't, probably put herself back out there, but I know she just celebrated her birthday, and I was like, Eve needs to get her ass back into that whole rap scene just for a little bit. Just
Eve is like she's good now.
she's naturally good, but I like how she kind of did that fine line of going into another part of her life classy and not being this whole like I'm rich bitch. It was just kind of just like I just found this guy I love and I'm living my life
Yeah,
racing cars all over the world and
I don't even know her. She's got a whole little secret lifestyle. I don't
she
even know.
does. She does. But she's classy. I never not liked Eve. I know the last time she put something out, it wasn't as great, but I could tell that she was already starting to mature because I'm like, yeah, she's not really trying to do this roughneck thing anymore. She's
I mean,
grown.
we all grow, man. It's
Yeah,
even like now I try to like get into like rap these
yeah.
days, and I'm just like,
I can't. I can't. There's too many littles. There's too many mumbling. Like, ugh.
I mean, I like J. Cole, like old head.
Yeah,
I like J. Cole though.
I love J. Cole. And I love there's not too many guys that are like new that I can stand, but J. Cole I can listen to a whole CD, excuse me, album. Um, yeah, there's not too many people I'm like you. Like I kind of loved hip hop from the early '90s. Like that was the stuff that I grew up in junior high, and to this day. And
Mm,
I
Kendrick,
find myself only going back to pop a little bit more now because some of the stuff is starting to fuse. So, like I
like
like coming back. JoJo came back and did a banging album. She did two really. So,
Kendrick Lamar.
love
Yeah,
Kendrick
I
Lamar.
rock Kendrick Lamar.
Listen to.
Funny stuff is Drake. Drake is like I remember I remember back in the day when he was on um
Degrassi.
Degrassi. I went to a Spike Lee had this show that was on the end, and it was called the Miracle Boys, and it was a party for the releasing of the show. And I'm like, I was like, Spike Lee's gonna be there? Shit, I'm going. I get into the party because my company was like hosting it, so I'm in there, and then my homegirl, she worked for the end, so that she's like, oh, wheelchair Jimmy, like, from Degrassi. I'm like, we're all hanging out over here, like, and then she's like, her name is Jawn, and she was just like, oh, do you want to hang out with the guys from Degrassi? I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I'm here to see Spike Lee, and she's talking Jimmy wheelchair.
For the wheelchair, I don't care.
So we're sitting at this table, and then you know, she's called what's Drake's first name? Aubrey. She's like,
Aubrey. Yeah, Aubrey
I
Graham.
was like, she's like, Aubrey's gonna be the next. She's telling me, she's like, Aubrey's gonna be the next hip hop star.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said, the wheelchair Jimmy?
I know, just looking at him like, what?
I was
Yeah.
like, him? I was like, yeah. I was like, whatever,
Yeah.
okay. And it just, I tell that story because it was just like, I
Yeah.
was like, I'm here to see Spike Lee. I don't
Later for you, Aubrey.
I
Yeah.
mean, thank you for the drinks at this table. I don't give a damn. I don't even watch Degrassi, whatever. But just the fact that fast forward and here, you're just like, I can't believe this is crazy. My friend was on; she was on it before anyone was like, it's just
Yeah.
hilarious.
Now, Aubrey, I know it's crazy because I didn't watch Degrassi. My sister loved Degrassi, but I knew that they had a show. I just never watched it. And all I know is I think I started discovering him because there was slowly a buzz developing. Back when people would just put out just singles and stuff, and you just saw the single cover and you were like, "Who's this person?" And I was obsessed with buying like the latest single or something when they used to sell CD singles, cassette singles, whatever. And then eventually it just started, the buzz started coming back and forth. And I was just like, all right, I guess we're supposed to care about this Drake dude. And then the more I heard it, I'm like, that's not him. Like, he didn't look like a rapper. I'm looking at him like, what? So,
Yeah, my favorite Canadian rapper is his name's Chaos.
Okay.
Check it out.
I haven't heard him.
He was like one of Drake's heroes. Like check Chaos out. He was out before.
KOS?
Yeah, K-OS.
Okay. I think that's why I've heard of it. Okay. Yeah, I'll peep it. I'll definitely peep it. And all right, so if you have anything to ask me before we wrap, because let me get my cord because my thing's about to think about it real quick. Hold on for a second.
You are now dealing with a intermission on the AJ show. birds of while her computer is about to fit.
Hold on. We'll edit this out. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a cut because I forgot I didn't have my cord with me. Oh, damn it. Right there it is. Anyway.
So to speak, if you can.
I know. I have to work on my background thing. My friend told me today. She was like, girl. I was like, look, I don't know how to do this. Leave me alone.
You do know how to do this.
So, yeah, go ahead. Shoot what you got to say.
Let me know when you're ready.
All right, let me get this hooked up so this thing doesn't shoot up and cut off on us. I got a new PC, so I'm just trying to figure out where everything's at. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What is one secret talent that your friends on social media don't know that you have?
Oh, what secret talent my friends don't know I have?
Your friends from social media.
Oh, social media. I can do imitations of people very well, but it really depends because like you say, you always know you hear my voice when I call people. It's like certain accents, certain tones I can pick up, and it's very, very talented Mr. Ripley-ish, which is a little creepy, but I don't know what it is. It's something. It's like a recording in my head, and I run it back real quick. And people always, the few people I've done it to in front of coworkers, they're always like, "How do you sound exactly like?" I'm like, I don't know. It just stuck in my head, and yeah, I kind of have a little bit of a jukebox in my head, so certain things will just play, and I can just. It's very weird, but yeah.
Like a Black Mirror episode on that.
Oh, you know what? And I've never seen that show, and I'm kind of scared to watch it because the way people talk
I'm telling you, watch it. It's amazing.
I don't know.
At first, when people are like, watch Black Mirror, I'm like, I'm not watching that.
My friend Jen keeps telling me, like, she's like, you're going to be so traumatized. And I'm like, oh, shit.
It's like watching Twilight Zone when you're a kid.
Oh. See, I don't like anything scary either.
But it's scary, but it's good.
Okay. All right. All right.
It's good.
I'm writing it down.
After the pandemic is over, what is the first thing on top of your list that you need to get done?
That I need to get done after the pandemic's over. Oh God, that is a good idea. Well, if I want to be real, I really want to take advantage of. I kind of miss all of us working out in the studio that we were in because I just like the feel of the studio and I liked kind of that walk back to the train. And it's a small space, but it was a really pretty space. And when we were doing it last winter, it just felt very, I don't know, it just felt really good. And because at this point, I feel like everything that post pandemic, I'm kind of still doing anyway. Like I'm going grocery shopping, stuff like that. The only thing is because I don't have my car anymore, I kind of wish I could just get in the car and just drive somewhere, like drive to the beach. Because I know when I see E on at LBI, I'm like jealous. I'm like, I don't want to be at a beach. I want to sit and just take a whole day and just sit on the beach by myself, So I would just say that probably just go out more if I had my own car. And that would be probably a priority. Just drive somewhere.
If it's, let's see, what is one thing that you've learned about yourself after being alone through this whole pandemic? What's your thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
That you feel like has changed you forever?
Oh wow. I've learned how to be more grateful and try to work on not complaining, not being such a critic as I am. Virgo tendencies. We expect perfection in everything. So I've had my moments where I sit down and kind of feel sorry for myself. you know, why couldn't you just kept the second apartment and made it work and all this crap, and regrets like that start to creep in, but I'm trying to cap that. I'm trying to just think of the good things. Um, so yeah, I've learned that it is possible to kind of change your your mindset, and through meditation and through journaling and through working out, I've learned I don't have to live there all the time when I feel bad about myself. I don't have to stay in a sad, depressed frame of mind because of what didn't work. So I'm trying to get past that, you know. Just trying to be more positive on myself and be easy on myself.
Okay, I think we all have our own like personal like goals in our head and our own personal obstacles in our way. What do you think some of your biggest like what are your biggest obstacles that have been that you feel that have been in your way that have kept you from being great in your own mind? Because I mean, we're always like hard on ourselves
Hmm.
and have these invisible walls that we put up that we feel like they stop us from being great.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I've been my own worst critic, so the self doubt definitely has prevented me from believing in myself, and therefore, um, it's kind of messed up me being consistent with making attempts at trying to do voice acting a lot more thorough or go and audition. Like the one beauty about the pandemic is I can audition more for voice acting because they through backstage you can submit demos, and I had a sort of demo thing from this online class called Voice Coaches of PSA. And even though it was overpriced, I have something I can use to say, hey, this is my first demo. I want to try to get voice work because I felt like that was going to be my excuse to kind of build my savings back up, have something on the side, and then eventually the full time job I'm at, move on to something I really want to do and not just have a job, just to have a job. I want to actually have a career before I leave this world that I want to be part of. And so I think a lot of the time it's been financial burdens, but those are things I could control too. Like I wasn't really a great saver. So I think that's why a lot of things that happened years ago that put me back here with my mom is why, because I never really kind of looked at the forest from the trees. Like I never really had plans. I wasn't a planner. So I'm forced to kind of learn what planning really means to the point where I did have to get a physical planner. So I think it starts with me, just my internal self talk had to change. I had to decide, like, I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm sure not going to stay in this whole bubble that I've been in and mentally, like, just assuming everything's just going to go right because I want it to, but then not doing anything. So, yeah, so I just, at this point, I think that I've been my biggest hurdle, like trying to get past my ego, my insecurities, keeping me down. And then also just worrying about, because my mom is divorced now, 10 years over, it's just you kind of feel almost a little bit guilty trying to live your life and not be like, because we're really close, we're kind of buddies. And I feel weird because then my family also, my aunts and stuff on my dad's side always have a tendency to make me feel bad for wanting to leave the house all the time because they just feel like, what you gonna do? Your mother's by herself. And I'll be like, she's an adult. Like, she's fine. Um, so yeah, when you're especially if you're the youngest, and my sister was always more independent. Um, Now that I've gotten past 40, it's like part of me is like, all right, now I'm kind of getting tired of Jenkintown and the burbs, and because I had a taste of being on my own in Mount Airy, so it's like now I'm like I really want to step it up. I really want to feel more confident that I'm able to get the things I want to get. And I just want to be back into the swing of auditioning again for things that I like because entertainment industry is always going to interest me. I know there's other venues I can do now that don't necessarily have to involve me losing tons of weight, getting more headshots, going back to acting, and because realistically, I don't think I'm going to do that. But if I do, I have people that I could get new headshots with. I just haven't put money aside for it. So yeah, there's steps I want to do to going back to being like the quote unquote starving artist again, but I just feel like I don't have the personality for a 9 to 5 office job anymore. I'm just not that girl. Um, so I just need to find ways to get back to that girl that used to be very like oh, ta-da, So yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully just that will change.
My other question, as a content creator, um, and why do you see why do you think it is that content creators out here feel like they need permission to do their life's work um, these days? Like, like, there's this whole idea of like, you know, back in the day, back in the day, it's like gatekeepers that stop you from actually doing, whether it's content, whether it's acting, whether it's whatever, singing, or
Yeah.
every different field, there was a gatekeeper in your way stopping you from doing content. Why do you think content creators um, feel a need that they need permission to do their life's work?
I think also too when you have people, especially family, because family's number one to do this to you, but make you feel guilty about kind of wanting to fly by the seat of your pants and actually do something that's not considered practical, because I know a lot of friends that stopped pursuing acting because they didn't think it was practical. Because they were just like, you never know when your gig's going to come from. I don't want to be in that state of anxiety all the time. And I'm like, all right, sure. But me straddling a full time job and going to auditions all the time wasn't helping me either. I had to take off days where sometimes I would get a call back and it would have to be within 24 hours, and my department doesn't want me to give that short of notice because someone has to back me up. And it became kind of a thing where it was like, I can't do this again this month, or this is going to be an issue. Um, so I had to find little ways of finding joy, and one was working at the Eagles at the link for the 10 years I ended up working there in different departments. But that was kind of my way of escaping when I realized auditioning wasn't going to happen. And I think people want so bad for you to have a concrete job, something that pays you, get a check, you go home. The thing that I've learned to stop doing to my friend Jennifer, because she started switching into this kind of lifestyle just recently, but she's always been kind of a fly by the seat of the pants artist. I think artists who really have passion don't care about what won't happen. And I think for me, I always had a critic that said, but when's my next check coming? I don't have a steady flow of cash. And I think that content creators now, because everybody and their mama's doing something, to me, it allows artists to be more free because they don't have that middleman anymore interfering. There's no PR person because they are the PR person now. They can control their content, they can control who views it. I think it's better for them, but I think it's going to cause a lot of friction eventually when everything kind of goes back to normal post corona. And because that's the reason why a lot of those IG lives with D Nice and Questlove got kind of killed slowly but surely, because the record companies were getting all tight in the ass about playing songs too long, and copyright infringement, all this crap. So I think it only works for people who are already established per se, but people like myself who dare to dream, because you're over the hill and why are you starting to do this now? I luckily have never heard that, but I've said it to myself, because I come from a family that's very kind of
Practical.
practical, conservative, a little rigid. My sister was her passion was always fashion. So once all of a sudden she had a child, and next thing you know she was married and had to kind of move real fast because he was in the military. She had to put that on the back burner. And just recently, she's decided she's going to pursue online classes once I get back into the States, because she really wants to pursue fashion on some level. Um, so yeah, I think content creators just get that kind of criticism because it doesn't, to I guess, to the outside world, seem practical and safe. Um, but now these days, you should realize, like, you got to start somewhere. And like I said, if you're in quarantine, what else you gonna do? If you're a creative person, your mind never quiets, so you might as well just feed it. And as long as it's positive content, shouldn't be anything wrong with it. Yeah.
Now, my last question. I'm a big person of, like, like, I'll say, speak it into existence.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, you talk about those words that go off in your head when, or those words that your own worst enemy are the words in your head sometimes. And I feel like, speaking
Mm-hmm.
things into existence isn't just saying something that happens, but it's also, people don't realize that the words that they use and choose every day,
Mm-hmm.
the repetitive nature of the words they use, like, I can't. Like I need
Mhm.
this, or I can't do this without this. I need, like I don't know how to do that, or like these like the words that people choose. It's very, I feel it's very important. Like it's almost like it's like practice what you preach, and the
Right.
words that you preach over and over again
Mhm.
become great habits if you're saying the right things and
Right.
you're doing the right things. So in after this, in 2021, or I'd say tomorrow, what is AJ going to do um, so she breaks out in a big way in 2021?
I definitely am going to submit a lot more submissions for voice jobs more thoroughly, a lot more frequently. And I feel like there's no point. I'm going to have to probably beef up some of my resume somehow. From when I last remembered I did anything, I'm going to go through some old papers, try to see where the last time I had an audition, kind of try to bring myself back to that space, and just try to rebrand myself. Um, Pay attention to those who have been doing it for a while and take notes, and just be better at promoting myself than I have been, because I'm not very good at promoting myself up until the pandemic. And even before the pandemic, I used to always hear when I interviewed for other jobs that I wasn't very good at selling myself. And it's most likely, obviously, with office jobs, it was because I really didn't really want to work there, but I knew I needed a job. Um, but it seems like whenever it comes to this type of stuff that I actually have passion about, I just need to figure out how to contain it and make it work for me marketable, in a marketable way. Um, and just believe in myself more. I mean, I feel like 2021 could be beautiful as long as I know exactly what I want to do and the end goal. Like I said, I'm not a planner, so it's for me, it's literally day by day. But I'm just going to try to make sure I make myself more marketable, put myself out there a little more. When it becomes safe to go out, I'll probably try to take advantage of networking events a little more. Stop being afraid of, like, I don't have a car, so I have to go everywhere by train. Well, that's just what I'm going to do. Or worst comes to worst, if it's something on the weekend, I'll just rent a car for the weekend just to have somewhere to go and, you know, kind of start over. So yeah, I'm just going to work on trying to be a better self promoter, I guess.
Yeah, I think I think if you're a humble person, or you're like a person who is usually just laid back, it's very hard to like self promote. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel even like retweeting my own podcast on the
Yeah,
timeline,
I
I
felt really
feel
self.
super awkward about that.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll retweet it. I don't even say anything about it, because I feel like if you know where it is, you know where it is.
you know where it is, right?
Like I don't want to like bang you over the head with my own content. If you like it, you like it. Like
Right.
I'm not a person who's out here like, oh, we're the best at this. I'm like, if you know, you know, and if you like it, you like it. But at the end of the day, self promotion is key to get yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like nurturing your craft and having it be authentic
Right.
and be your authentic self speaks for itself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, self promoting is huge.
It is huge, and it's something that I can tell, like watching even TikToks now, like how people are making TikToks so much more interesting than it. Because at first the concept, I was only on the darn thing because of my niece, and then my sister took it away from her briefly because she thought she was getting a little too crazy. And then now I realize how people are making it kind of their brand, but why they're making it their brand. Like, it may sound stupid, but it's getting you to talk about them. So I said, well, I know I'm not the type of person. I don't have the energy to be flipping all over the place and all this like I don't do that. Even with that much coffee, I don't do that. But I know that there's ways that I can try to amp up the things I like to talk about. Like trying this project here has been a lot because I don't really like to reach out to people either. But it got to the point where I was getting antsy myself and I had a day off. And I thought, well, I don't get to really talk to too many people other than my close friends. And I thought, well, maybe it's time to try to pick people's brains and see if it'll light something in me. And
I
already,
I think it's great. I mean, I because I always tell people like, make sure you're creating your own opportunities. Like
mm-hmm,
whether it's like you doing this kind of thing, you created this.
right,
This you sparked this.
mm-hmm,
So it's like, passing off energy, like good energy, like this. We're having a great conversation about like creating content,
mm-hmm,
looking forward to the future, and like but we're also from the same small community of the Eagles
Right.
community of content creators. But it's like, it's the community aspect is, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
People come together and people support each other. So, I'll have you on like a Fourth and Jawn thing, because that's what we do. People in the community and networking,
Right.
whether you can't network in events right now. This is how you network and create content and create good energy. So that, I mean, if someone else is out here is looking to get into do what we do,
Mm-hmm.
this is how you learn. And
Right. You're right, and
each
that's
one
what.
teach one.
Yeah, each one teach one definitely, but. All right, so this is obviously going longer than I planned, but I'm fine with it because, like I said, I know I'm going to be learning how to chop it up, chop and screw it. But I do thank you so much, Gail, because I feel like at this point now, not only did you and my other friend that I did this with, I'm like, I feel encouraged to continue because I want to have more personalities on this. So I definitely will be on whatever next telecast live stream you do because, with this week coming up, if everything goes according to plan, hopefully the Eagles will have a more interesting game to watch as opposed to what it's been
Yeah,
lately.
when it goes to plan.
When it went, you're right. When.
When
Now, I'm excited just because if they possibly do show Alshon Jeffrey playing this weekend, I'll be happy just to see him, regardless of what happens. There's
I got,
some there's
I
some
got
people
mixed feelings.
that, huh?
I got because I'm getting rumors from people who know Alshon, and they told me that his cousin said he's not gonna play for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm confused. I feel like they keep hyping it, but then part of me is kind of like, well, maybe he doesn't want to stay. Maybe he was just using this opportunity just to rehab. But then another part of me was like, but he has to kind of put himself out there again to show that he wants to still play, just maybe not with the team.
And what if the Eagles are like, if he gets injured
Yeah,
and, he has to be on the roster again next year?
right. That's true. I know, and that was the issue with giving him extra money. That whole thing.
Like, hey, if he comes back, I'll love Alshon forever. He helped get us a Super Bowl. He balled out in the Super Bowl. I used to call him Alpha Jeffrey. He was the alpha male that we needed in that wide receiver group.
Yeah,
I thought he brought confidence to
yeah.
um, Nelson Aguilar. So I feel like, hey, it is what it is. Like, we've gone through a lot as the Eagles fan base, but I feel like they're getting pieces back at the right time, and who knows? Like, who if they catch fire in a bottle at the right time, who knows?
I mean, that's how 2019 season ended. I mean, no one thought they were going to make it to the playoffs last year, and for them to come through literally 4 games in a row, you never know when to count them out. So, but that's for another podcast. But I thank you for joining Birds of a Feather, Gail, and this chat has been very informative, freeing, empowering, just like I want it to be. Because 5 questions really is just the tipping of the iceberg that I wanted to do. I wanted to really feel like this podcast will actually reach people more in a visual form. So I thank you so much.
Yeah, hey, anytime you need me, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad to see you doing your thing and
Yes.
spreading the good energy.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll definitely talk next stream. And go Birds either way.
Go Birds.
Take care. See ya.
All right.